There are two sides to every story. The National Broadcasting Company presents the vivid drama of life itself. Broadcasting's original program of mediation, the Court of Human Relations. And now the man who has familiarized millions of people with the idea of mediation helped to make it a creative force in American life, A.L. Alexander.
I think it is one of the strange truths of life that the obvious is often overlooked. And in the noisy confusion of today's world, I wonder if we're not losing sight of the fact that the basic reality of life is not machinery or politics or industry or even rockets to the moon, but human relationships. The association of a man with a woman, of a parent with a child. Man is skilled in the arts. He has learned how to harness the lightning, to ride the wind, to read the stars. But the art of living peacefully together remains the great riddle of existence. It has been said that any person who finds happiness in his relationships with other people is a successful person, even though he has failed in most everything else. You are now about to witness an actual mediation proceeding dedicated to happy and harmonious human relations. The intention is to take a conflict that has timely interest and wide application, cut through all other considerations to the basic issue, and determine what is just and reasonable and fair. Now, the attempt to adjust a dispute through the friendly intervention of impartial persons is called mediation. And today we welcome as our mediators three key personalities in American life. An engaging figure of the courtroom, as attorney for the defense, as prosecutor of the pleas, as a judge of the Supreme Court of his native state of New Jersey, Honorable William A. Wachenfeld. An educator, widely known for his awakening of interest in all forms of creative expression and helpful knowledge, Dr. Paul Dawson Eddy. And America's most distinguished clergyman, Dr. Harry Emerson Fosdick. I suppose there is nothing that exercises more influence in all of human relations than the idea of motherhood and all that that term implies. Now, here is an issue involving motherhood that I think will make some things a little better understood. Here is the complainant.
Mr. Alexander, did you ever hear of such a thing, a mother should give up her eyes for a child?
Would you repeat that and ask the mediators that?
Did you ever hear of such a thing, a mother should give up her eyes to a child? This has caused a big argument in our family. I have a niece, she's 7 years old, a beautiful and talented girl, and we all love her. But my sister has an obsession. She wants to give up her eyes to this child. And I think this is ridiculous.
Well, why do you say that? Why is it ridiculous?
I am a mother. I have a child. I do everything for my child. I give him love, affection, education, but I cannot give him my heart or my eyes. But my sister goes from one doctor to another, but she wants to give up her eyes for this child.
And is that why you're here? You want this settled?
Yes, I want this settled.
You are the mother of this child?
It's very hard, Mr. Alexander, to express my feeling, but I will try my best. This is my only child, which means my whole life to me. The only thing I could do for her, I want to give her my eyes. I want her to have her mother's eyes.
Well, do you tell us that you can't stand seeing the condition of her eyes?
No, I can't stand it.
Will you tell us something about that condition?
When she is very close to something, she remarks it. Otherwise, she is bumping in, she's stumbling and falling down. When she could read only with very big glasses and only big letters.
Well, when you come
and
into
when she's in a room and I'm in the other room, I tell her, don't do that. She's asking me, Mother, how could you see me? This hurts me. I can't stand it. I want to help her. The only thing I want to help her.
Well, do you feel that it's the function and the duty for
That
mothers?
is the duty of a mother to do so. How many times a mother went to prison for her child? How many times a mother was sentenced to death for a child? Why shouldn't I help my child?
Well, now, I believe that you told me that you got this idea from reading about eye banks, that there are eye banks.
I know all about. Thousands and thousands of people are waiting for such a thing. It's very, very complicated. And even if it would be possible, I don't want it. I want her to have my eyes, her mother's eyes.
Well, is it your idea that you don't want her to have the eyes of a deceased person?
No, I don't want to have her only my side, her mother's side.
Yes. Well, what have you to say about this situation?
I speak for the family. And I think this is very foolish of my sister. How could she possibly help the child when she herself is going to be blind? God has given her this child with wonderful brains, and she should accept her the way she is. But my sister keeps on talking day and night about her eyes and her eyes and her eyes, and I believe feeling too much sorry could spoil the child's life. She has done everything possible to help, but enough is enough. And I want to settle.
Well, we
What
addressed...
does my eyes mean to me if my heart is broken in pieces to see this child this way? I want her to give my eyes, and I want to help her.
Well, your family seems to have the idea that you should
Nobody
resign
would
yourself.
understand me. Only a mother, my position, she could understand me.
Yes, but your family seems to think that that's the way the child is, and you must resign yourself and accept it.
God wouldn't want to be my child this way if I could help her.
Well, isn't your life to be considered? What about your side?
My side means nothing to me if I get the peace in my heart which I need so badly.
Well, gentlemen, I think that it would help complete the picture if the mediators were to meet the child, who is the subject of this conflict. It should be pointed out that the child is completely familiar with the issue because the mother has made such a point of it in the home and elsewhere, but the child has not been in a position to hear the discussion. And I think it would be proper that she not hear the discussion that follows. I wonder if the little girl can be brought in. Yes, hello there.
Hello.
Do you know who I am?
Yes?
Suppose we take these off. Do you mind taking them off?
No.
Yes. Well, suppose you just look at me, up this way. How do you like it around here anyway? Do you like it around here?
Yes.
I think it's proper that we ask your name, or at least call you by names. We're not supposed to use names on this program, but what could we call you? We have to call you something. Can you think of any name that we could call you?
You could call me Pearl.
Well, that's a good name because that's what you are. Now,
Thank you.
did you come from a very long distance to see the doctor?
Yes.
How many miles? I should tell you that there are some very
400.
friendly people out this way, and I'd like you just to look in that direction. I know that you can only see their outlines. That's right. Now, how many miles?
I think it's 400.
Yes, and that was a long distance. And where did you come from?
Canada.
Canada. And do you have much fun in Canada? For instance, outdoors. What do you do outdoors?
Well, in the wintertime I never get a chance to play in the snow, but I do run around.
Well, how about in the summertime? What do you do in the summertime?
Well, I like to swing on swings and slide down slides.
Don't you want to look at me a little bit?
Oh, yes.
Yes. And swings and slides, and that's a lot of fun. But what do you do indoors?
I watch television.
Have a lot of fun?
Yes.
Laugh and play?
Yes.
And do you go to school?
Yes.
What kind of a school do you go to? What do you learn?
Well, I learn arithmetic, spelling.
And do you learn to make things?
Yes.
What do you make, for example?
We paint and in wintertime, we learn how to make snowflakes out of paper.
Oh, that's a lot of fun. By the way, you know, of course, that your mother wants to give you her eyes. Did you know that?
Yes.
And how do you feel about that?
Well, I don't think she should.
Why don't you think she should?
Because I want my mother to have her own sweet eyes, and I want to be the way I am.
What did you say?
I want my mother to have her own sweet eyes, and I want to be the way I am.
Well, that's a sweet thing to say. By the way, we should have asked you how old you are. How old are you?
7 years old.
7. And do you have a birthday soon? When is your birthday?
June the 20th.
Well, now, I have an idea. You know that little room that you were in?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know exactly when your birthday was, but we did arrange to have a present for you anyway, and we have a lovely box wrapped in beautiful silk ribbon in that little room. Would you like to open it now, or would you like to wait till June to open it, when your birthday is?
I'd like to open it now.
Well, I don't blame you. Suppose you run out and open it now.
Well, where is it?
Yes. Well, now, I think, gentlemen, that we've presented all sides of this picture, or at least the sides which are significant at the moment. How do you feel about this, Dr. Eddy?
Well, I feel that this mother has gone beyond the call of love or duty in her willingness to make a sacrifice which would not be, in my judgment, necessarily beneficial to the child, because the child would then be deprived of the life and light and service of the mother. The operation, I know nothing about the medical implications, but it's a relatively new science. We have no assurance of its
Well, now,
success,
Dr. Eddy,
and I do
if
not want to get into that.
May I interrupt and suggest that we don't get into
Yes.
the medical side? I'd like to ask you, on the sociological and on the ethical basis, do you think it would be sound public policy, and do you think it would be a reasonable thing for this mother to give her child her eyes?
I certainly do not, and I think she ought to explore the possibility of the use of other available eyes, which would not, be more beneficial to the child and would may help her perform the function. The other thing I would like to say is that we know much about handicapped children. We have clinics for them. And I know the amazing things that children can do. Nature compensates a human life for the limitations of one faculty or one facility that we have, so that the child is much more sensitive in other areas. Blind children, we've had blind children go through our college who made splendid records, who walk all over the campus with a stick or with a friend, who have people who help read for them, and they read their own, and so on.
Well, Dr. Eddy, if I may interrupt, I do think, I think it's unjust to impugn one's own mediator, but I'm wondering if at this time we should give easy comfort to this mother who's in the throes of a great tragedy. I think that what we have to do is indicate to her whether, as a substantial matter, she should do what she wants to do, and you feel that she should not.
I think that in addition to comfort, we should give her courage and determination to follow what seems to me a very clear path.
Judge Walkenfeld?
Well, I think this equation is literally saturated with human emotions, lofty ideals, as you can obviously see, and a maternal devotion that is beautiful in its dedication. But even with all this, I couldn't possibly encourage the program which the mother is suggesting. Let's diagnose it for a minute. It goes to extremes. It contains sacrifices that when they're made, they're irrevocable. No matter how much you or anyone were to regret them, you can't change the pattern after they're once made. For a mother to give up her eyesight and live in blindness and helplessness so that her daughter might more clearly see carries with it tremendous penalties. And I doubt if it's going to bring the happiness and the contentment that you think that it's going to bring to you. Just go a step further. What's going to happen to this mother when she is helpless and when she's blind? Who's going to take care of her? What about the operation itself? They're not always successful, but assuming that it is a success, it comes at a tremendous price and a tremendous handicap. And someday, this little girl that this mother wants to devote herself to is going to rue the day that this gift was ever made to her when she sees the condition that her mother is in. Transferring and transplanting these physical advantages and handicaps is something that we must approach with a great deal of caution. I would suggest that we acclaim the mother and applaud her for her wonderful attitude, but let's not go any further than that.
Is there anything you have to say to the mediator about that?
I will try the best I could.
Yeah. We've had invited one of our noted specialists in this field, Dr. A.L. Kornzweig, attending ophthalmologist at Mount Sinai Hospital, associate clinical professor of ophthalmology at the postgraduate medical school. Now, doctor, will you describe for us the particular branch of ophthalmology in which you are a specialist as teacher and practitioner?
At the New York University Postgraduate Medical School, I teach the embryology of the eye, which is a study of the development of the eye from its earliest manifestations up to the time of birth.
And did you, prior to these proceedings, conduct an extensive examination of the eyes of this child?
I did.
And will you tell us, so far as possible, in non-medical or non-technical terms, exactly what you found?
This child has a congenital abnormality. She was born with it. She has an atrophy of the optic nerve and of the retinal tissue and is almost blind.
Doctor, do we understand that following the examination of the child that you examined the eyes of the mother?
I did.
And what did you find?
They are perfectly normal eyes.
Now, have you ever known of a case involving the transplant of the eyes of a living donor from one living person to another?
No, it is impossible to transplant an entire eye. Portions of the eye have been transplanted, especially the cornea, but never a complete eye.
And in view of the existing condition, after examining both mother and child in this case, what are the possibilities of helping this child, especially in view of the statements and wishes of the mother?
It is my considered opinion that no, no surgical intervention will help this child, either with the cooperation of the mother or, for that matter, any other person.
So there's nothing that can be done surgically to relieve the child's eyes?
That is true.
And even if it was sound public policy to transplant the eyes of a living person, it could not be accomplished in this case, as we understand it, because it would serve no purpose due to the condition of the child's eyes.
That is true.
Now, Doctor, we'd like to ask you this question. Is there anything that you can recommend in the way of therapy that can be done for this child in her eyes?
Only the usual and familiar techniques of sight conservation, which are calculated to train this child to make the most of the vision that she has.
We're very grateful to you, Doctor, for your help. Dr. Fosdick, you've heard the statements of the other mediators. You've heard what this specialist has said. what is your feeling now in this matter so far as the situation in which this mother finds herself is concerned?
Well, I am full of admiration for the dedicated motherhood that this lady has shown.
It's a little difficult for us to hear you, Dr. Fosdick.
And I can imagine that at this present moment she's rather crushed by the medical evidence that what she had proposed is surgically impossible of achievement. But may I go on to say that even if the doctor hadn't given that report, I still would have supported the other mediators in saying that you ought not to have given your eyes to the child. It was the worst thing you could do for the child. The child needs a healthy, effective mother above all things in this world. And you can serve that child best, not by giving your eyes, even if that were medically possible, but by opening the doors of opportunity before that child. Some of the most wonderful things in the world being done now are being done for and by blind people. I have a friend who has been blind since her infancy. That never stopped her. She took her PhD from Columbia University and has been one of the most successful school teachers in the school system of a Middle Western city. A sightless woman with a classroom full of sightful children. How did she do it? Well, only God knows. But they are doing that. So that I would say that you've got the job not to pity the child, but to inspire the child, stimulate the child, to open the doors of opportunity for the potentialities. She's a sweet and talented little kid. My heart just goes warmly out to her. She's got stuff in her. And if you open the doors of potentiality before, the day will come when you'll be so proud of her, you'll cheer.
Well, it is the feeling of this board, Dr. Fosdick and gentlemen, that as precious as normal eyesight is, there are some things just as precious, even more precious. And it seems to me that in the face of great misfortune, as we have indicated, particularly tragic in a child, that it's certainly not the board's intention to give an easy answer, but it is plain that this mother can be the child's eyes. She can be her eyes in a very realistic way. Now, you know, you told us your feelings as a mother, didn't you?
I did.
And you've heard what these mediators have to say. They've expressed their sentiments.
Thank you very much.
And now you know the truth as you've never known it before.
Right.
And as disillusioned as we know you are, and we know just how disillusioned you are, we want to ask you a question. Don't you think that it's far better to get rid of these illusions about which you can do absolutely nothing?
I have no other choice.
Yes. Now you see the truth. You see that there never was such an operation. This operation simply does not exist. And now you're free. You're free to be even a more wonderful mother than you've ever been before.
Thank you.
You understand that?
I understand.
May I share with you this concluding thought? If all the misfortunes of mankind were cast into a basket in order to be equally distributed among all, those who now think themselves so unhappy would much prefer the share they already possess to that which would fall to them by such a division.